We welcome you to Dahlonega, Georgia for Game 2 of a Peach Belt Conference Tournament doubleheader today. First up on the bracket was the women's soccer game, and they took on Georgia Southwestern, where North Georgia won 3-0 over them, advancing them to the semifinals this Friday. This game, Game 2 of the day, North Georgia going to be taking on Georgia Southwestern also in what is a quarterfinal matchup between these two teams. As we welcome you up to the broadcast booth, Devin Kupka here. I'll take you alongside everything that goes on in this matchup today between North Georgia and Georgia Southwestern. This is the third time these teams have met this season. First matchup was at Georgia Southwestern, where both teams tied 1-1. And then the last matchup came just 30 days ago, where Georgia Southwestern and North Georgia faced off here in Dahlonega, where North Georgia won 5-0 over the Hurricanes. And kickoff is underway here in Dahlonega. This is North Georgia's first night game at home all season for the men's team. And beautiful weather in Dahlonega today. Temperatures in the mid-70s, currently hovering around 65 degrees right now at kickoff. Over to Daviena. Contested over there on the far side. Looked like Rodas on the far side for North Georgia. This one kicked into the box. Now kicked out of the box by the Hurricanes, but intercepted immediately by Wright. And that one's going to get kicked to the fence. Patch over on the far side. Now over in the direction of Paige Sinclair. Whistle's called. Looks like it's going to be a foul against North Georgia. Free kick opportunity for the Hurricanes. Tyler Vitelli now right back over on the feet of Georgia Southwestern. Ball being contested at midfield, where foul called on Georgia Southwestern. Right over in the direction of Aram Laura. free kick opportunity for North Georgia. Going to get kicked inside the box, but immediately headed by Hurricane player. Going to be a corner kick by Aram Laura. First corner of the game. Kicked inside the box. Ball rolled outside the box. Now over to Daviana. Headed in the box by a North Georgia player where ball bounces out of bounds. Now, North Georgia trying to contest this one inside. Gets kicked outside now. Now, Georgia Southwestern formating a counterattack. Now over to Dante Johnson. Johnson getting inside the box, kicking this one in for potential in there, but broken up by a couple of Nighthawks. Jack Malaret on there for Georgia Southwestern, broken up by a couple of Nighthawk defenders. This is the 25th all-time matchup between these two teams. In their 19-year history against each other, they have never faced each other in the Peach Belt Conference tournament or an NCAA Division II tournament. They have faced a couple of times in the regular season finale, but never in any tournament. This one kicked far outside the box by Damian Dominguez. Ball rolling out of bounds now. Going to be a corner kick for North Georgia. Kick sent in, immediately headed by a Hurricane player, headed back in. That one's going to be a shot towards the goal and going to go way over the top. A kick by Aram Laura. Now sliding into the broadcast booth with us tonight, TJ Campbell. TJ, you've been a part of this team before. You've used to work for them a couple of years ago, and you knew what it was like down there in Georgia Southwestern. Now these two teams facing off for the first time ever in tournament history. What are your thoughts on this matchup going, especially early in this one?
I think it's going to be, a pretty, good battle. I think that, Coach Crawford for GSW, they probably didn't have the regular season that they wanted. But in a game like this, once you make it to the Peach Belt Conference tournament, the win-loss records are out of the window. As long as you're in, you have a shot. And I think that they always step up when they're in the conference tournament. Last year, they made a run to the championship as a pretty pretty low-seeded team. So I'm excited to see, how both of these coaches who are building up these programs will take on this challenge tonight.
It's going to be interesting to see North Georgia looking for win number 2 of the day as the women's soccer team beat Georgia Southwestern 3-0 just a little under an hour ago.
Yeah, and I think that also brings in another factor. Both of your teams are here. The away support is naturally going to be a little bit better because both your teams are here, so it's kind of convenient. If you're a Georgia Southwestern fan, you can come to Dahlonega, come to North Georgia, and watch both teams play in a postseason tournament.
Free kick opportunity for Aram Laura. Seen him take a couple shots so far tonight. That one's sailing into the box, bouncing off the chest of Michael Walsh and being headed out by a Hurricane player. That one's set into the box, kicked out immediately. Now over into the feet of Paige Sinclair. Now Aram Laura passing this one over to Vitelli, and Vitelli going to kick that one way over the crossbar. Bryant Properties, a commercial real estate brokerage firm that specializes in commercial real estate along the Georgia 400 corridor, is a proud partner of North Georgia Athletics. This one kicked to the near side and into the feet of Harrison Wright. Now over to Santiago Cano, where it ultimately lands up in the hands of the Hurricane goalkeeper, Dago Romero. Foul called against Georgia Southwestern. Looks like it's going to be a free kick for North Georgia. Kick deep inside the box. Headed by a Hurricane player. Landed right outside the box, and now Georgia Southwestern making a counterattack. Chris Salamatu now over to on the far side. Now back over to Salamatu inside the box, but Hazel Lay got there before anybody else could. Lay kicking that one deep into Georgia Southwestern territory. Now back into the feet of the goalkeeper, Dago Romero. Whistle called, foul against North Georgia. Still scoreless nearly 15 minutes into this one. Now we're going to get kicked in, and Georgia Southwestern puts their goal first up on the board as Georgia Southwestern leads 1-0 over North Georgia.
Yeah, that was a great shot there. I didn't quite see who it was, but great shot there. And like I was saying, Georgia Southwestern is going to show up. Season's on the line really for both of these sides. So the intensity is going to be extra in this one. But, North Georgia, they've done it multiple times this season already where they face adversity and they kind of overcome it and keep climbing the mountain. So it'll be interesting to see if that kind of lights a spark for the Nighthawks or if it lights a spark for the Hurricanes.
Yeah, definitely something North Georgia would want to see. North Georgia's coming in as the 3 seed in the Peach Belt Conference tournament, and where Georgia Southwestern is sitting at the 6th seed. That goal was by Jack Malloret for Georgia Southwestern. Malloret's first goal on the season.
Georgia Southwestern goal by number 17, Jack Malloret.
Malloret right behind the assist leader, Dante Johnson, with 4 assists. So Malloret gets his first goal of the season for Georgia Southwestern. Could have been very dangerous there for North Georgia. Jack Malloret could have been on a one-on-one situation for Georgia Southwestern. Trip up at midfield, foul going to go against Georgia Southwestern. Harrison Wright. Now over to Aram Laura. That will get kicked inside the box, deflected by, it looked like, Michael Walsh. Good defensive stop by North Georgia to prevent Georgia Southwestern going up 2-0 over the Nighthawks. That one now kicked over to Walsh. Walsh trying to get that one. Going to be a throw-in for North Georgia. Max Garnett. Or now it's going to be Harrison Wright throwing it in for the Nighthawks. Wright now over to Garnett. Garnett trying to make something happen. Bouncing off the feet of a Hurricane player. Now landing in the possession of North Georgia. North Georgia trying to make something happen. And Santiago Cano trying to get a shot on goal, but picked up by the goalkeeper. Now kicked deep by Romero. Garnett. Back pass, and that will now pass forward to Cano. And Cano trying to put the crosser in there. Now back into the feet of Cano again. Now we're going to kick towards goal, but the Dago Romero coming up with the save for Georgia Southwestern again. Foul against Georgia Southwestern. Free kick for North Georgia. Kicked inside the box, but darted out of there by a Hurricane player. Now contested. Foul called against Georgia Southwestern. Official opponent, the number 2. Even 2 fingers up in the air. And what looks like it was to Daniel Romero Ramos. Georgia Southwestern. Free kick inside the box, and that one's going to get bounced out once again. Now over to Daviena. Daviena gets out of a jam. Kicking this one to the near side. It's Santiago Cano. Now over to Sinclair. Back to Cano. And now Georgia Southwestern setting up a counterattack. Now North Georgia on the counteroffensive. Max Garnett inside the box for North Georgia. North Georgia trying to make something happen. Kicked over there. Still inside the box. Still in play. Over in the feet of Kano. Kicked inside the box. And ball rolling out of bounds. Still contested inside the box. That one kicked. That one kicked inside the box. Still hotly contested. Still being paddled around. Now over to Daviena on the far side. Daviena. That ball going to get headed by Damian Dominguez. Now Georgia Southwestern on a counterattack. Dominguez. Dominguez trying to set up a pass. A Hurricane player not found in sight. Kicked deep by Daviena, where Damian Dominguez is right there for Georgia Southwestern. Foul called against North Georgia. Looks like that was Aram Laura, the Nighthawk, receiving the foul. Braden Wood, the Hurricane player that was on the ground. Foul called at midfield. Tripping going on between, looks like Max Garnett. Stoppage of time. Looks like that was Chris Salamatu. Now over the middle. Hurricane trying to get there before ball rolls out of bounds. Contested at midfield. North Georgia comes up on the winning side of that. Yellow card going to be issued to Chris Salamato right at midfield.
Yellow card issued to number 10, Chris Salahutu, for Southwestern.
TJ, it's getting hotly contested in this one so far with 17 minutes left in the first half.
Yeah, I think, I mean, you know, and I've kind of been saying it all day, but I think whenever you have a game with as high of stakes as this, I mean, you know, there's seniors out there that this could be their last game, you know, so they're going to leave it all out there. They're going to give everything they got. And, you know, the intensity is going to match that. You know, for one of these teams, this is going to be the end of their season potentially. So, you know, you come to expect those when you come into a postseason game, postseason tournament.
Subs coming in for North Georgia. Miguel Romero stepping onto the pitch for Paige Sinclair. And one other thing, too, is sometimes emotions can get the best of you and it doesn't go your way. Do you think that being emotional with what we've seen at the scrums at midfield, do you think that could be hindering the Nighthawks in some way?
I think it's important anytime you're in a game with this high of emotions, you know, I think it's important that you're able to channel it towards what you need to be doing. So whatever your job is out there, you know, whether you're a midfielder that distributes or you're a goalkeeper or you're a back line that, you know, is trying to limit shots, I think it's important to channel those emotions into a positive and not let them take over yourself. You know, you want to do your job first, and, you know, if an emotional moment or an emotional game allows you to kind of hit that extra gear, that's kind of got to be what you're looking for as a player.
Looked like that was Tyler Vitelli on the far side, the Nighthawk shaken up for North Georgia. Hurricane player, Nighthawk player collide, get immediately right back up. North Georgia trying to make something happen. Now over to Max Garnett on the near side. Now inside the box, Kano try to get that one, but it's actually going to go behind the net. Subs coming in for Georgia Southwestern. Jack Malloret coming off the pitch. And Ian Rodriguez coming in for Georgia Southwestern.
Stepping on for Georgia Southwestern, number 11, Ian Rodriguez.
Dangerous situation for Georgia Southwestern, but an incredible save by Hazel Lay. North Georgia on a quicker pace. Lay immediately throwing that away to midfield. Now a throw in for North Georgia. Back over to Lay. Right. Back over to Walsh. Walsh over to Laura. Right, got to set that one inside the box. Anything sailing into the box tonight by Georgia South or by North Georgia has always, at least 95% of the time, is met by either a foot or a head of a Georgia Southwestern player tonight.
Yeah, they're doing a great job of getting to the ball, getting those 50-50s and winning them and getting them out of the box. I think it also helps that they have a one-goal lead. They're probably not as focused as North Georgia is on getting a counterattack or getting, down the field to the other side. I think they're just kind of in get it out, get it gone mode.
.11:30 left to go in this half. Sailing into the box once again, headed by a Georgia Southwestern player. This one, Damian Dominguez. Kick deep, headed by Walsh. Ball going to bounce out of bounds. Subs coming in for Georgia Southwestern. Chris Salamatu coming off the pitch. Going to be Stephen Linton for Georgia Southwestern stepping onto the pitch. Ian Rodriguez. Now that one's going to get deflected by Aram Moore, but immediately picked up by Georgia Southwestern. That one bouncing off a Georgia Southwestern player. Now back over to midfield, headed by a Hurricane. And now back into the feet of North Georgia. Mattia Balzano. That one bounced out of bounds by Georgia Southwestern. Under 10 minutes to go in this first half. Nighthawk tripped up at midfield. That was Santiago Cano. Lay kicking this one over to Walsh. Walsh kicking it deep. Now the Hurricanes on the offensive. Shove at midfield. Now North Georgia trying to set up a counterattack. Aram Laura. Laura going to try to get that one over in the direction of Max Garnett. It's going to go in. Aram Laura bouncing off the hands of Dago Romero. North Georgia finds their equalizer as we're tied up at 1 apiece with 8 minutes left to go in the first half.
Yeah, and that could be the spark that the Nighthawks needed there. It kind of felt like the Hurricanes were more of the aggressors for much of this first half. And that ball was smoked. He hit that so hard. That went straight to the keeper's hands, but it would just hit so hard it went right through him almost. But yeah, I think that will light a spark for North Georgia, and I think it's going to here in the second half and the end of this first half.
And the interesting thing about this was that around Laura, you had Max Garnett down deep inside the box and near the goalies area, and you look like there was a connection. Sail it in. Hopefully Garnett heads it in or kicks it in for North Georgia. But it ended up was, as you said, such a hard kick by Laura that, yeah, it was going directly to Romero's hands, but ball was hit so hard that Romero dropped her. It was really kind of tipped up in the air by Romero, but finding the back of the net, North Georgia ties this one up at 1.
I also think you got to wonder, what is the mindset of the Georgia Southwestern goalkeeper after that? You basically make the play, but didn't have strong enough hands to really secure it, and it goes right past you. So that could be an interesting thing to look for in the second half. Will he be a little bit delayed in his decision making because he's second guessing himself, or will he recover from that adversity and kind of bounce back?
Yeah, the assist leader for North Georgia, Aram Laura, with 9 assists, actually just got his second goal of the game, or second goal, of the game of the season.
Yeah, and it feels like we see a lot of those shots, from outside of the box, that are pretty far from range. But, that one goes in, and I guess that's why they take them.
So North Georgia finding the equalizer thanks to Aram Laura. Not the first time these two teams have been tied at 1 apiece this season. If you go back to September 16th of this year, Saturday, September 16th in Americus, Georgia, these two teams tied at 1 apiece in that matchup earlier in the season for the third all-time tie between these two teams. Now, so that was the first time these teams met. The second time was just 30 days ago on Saturday, October 7th. Georgia Southwestern picked up the 5-0 win over Georgia Southwestern. North Georgia looking go up 2-1 over Georgia Southwestern. Kicked deep by Romero. Lands right up back in the hands of, or feet of North Georgia. Got one out of bounds on Garnett. That one kicked. Attempted goal attempt for Georgia Southwestern. We stay tied at 1. Now Santiago Cano. Possible. Had a great opportunity downfield for North Georgia. Now lured to the far side of the field. And the Hurricanes making a counter offense. Nice defensive slide by Garnett. Georgia Southwestern trying to set up something. Under almost 3 minutes left to go in this first half. Good slide by Aram Laura. Daviana kicking this one to the near side to right. Now over to Garnett. Now over the middle to Mattia Balzano. Georgia Southwestern player getting tripped up. Now these two teams are chipping at each other. Player shoved to the ground. Looks like we're going to have some yellow cards issued. We're going to see what the referees say. Looks like there's a couple of yellow cards issued. There was a North Georgia player thrown to the ground in that scrum. Multiple yellow cards issued. 4 yellow cards issued in that scrum. There was 2 and 2 on that one. 2 on North Georgia, 2 on Georgia Southwestern. As these two Peach Belt Conference rivals are getting heated. Free kick for them. That one get a sail VAR out of bounds for Georgia Southwestern. Under 2 to go in this first half. Foul called against Georgia Southwestern. Garnett. Now over to right. Right inside the box. Be tipped up in the air, but eventually caught by Romero. Contested. Taken away by Georgia Southwestern. Deflected by a couple Nighthawk players.
30 seconds remaining.
Throw in for North Georgia with under 20 left. Shot deep by Laura, but it's going to go left of the net. And we've reached halftime here in this Peach Belt Conference tournament matchup between UNG Georgia Southwestern. Tied up at 1 apiece. We're going to take you to commercial break. And then after the commercials are over, we'll give you your halftime recap right here on the Nighthawk Sports Network.
I'm here!
You've got a lot of reasons to be here. That's why we're here at Georgia Heart Institute, where advanced heart attack treatments save more hearts than anywhere in Georgia.
My baby girl is home!
Georgia Heart Institute.
Since 2007, we've seen an explosion in popularity of superhero movies in the last decade. Rayner argues that superhero films offer an escape from the boredom many of us feel with our lives. We love the epic. We want epic lives. There's a tension you're going to face as you celebrate, walk out of this door, and you go to Monday and you say, what's next? And more importantly, how do I live a superhero life? John Gordon, he's a best-selling author on leadership. This is what he says. There's a myth about success, graduates. I'm going to paraphrase a little bit. One that says it's all about you. But here's the truth. You're not a real success unless you're helping others be successful. That's the greatest self-growth strategy of all time. The more you help others grow and improve, you grow and improve. Focus on others. It's not about you. And you'll find something even greater than success. Graduates, you'll find significance. But remember, in all of this, there's a tension. How do I live a superhero life? Enter the epic by being bold. Your family, your community, our state, and our nation are all counting on you. Graduates, today we celebrate you. We celebrate your hard work. We celebrate your diligence. We celebrate your commitment. And I am so incredibly proud of you.
You can't really get an idea of how another country runs their military till you go abroad.
It was cool to see their outlook on just life in general. To be there as a global ambassador is definitely a life-changing experience.
I participated in the Management College National Defense University Cadet Exchange. That is located in Taipei, Taiwan.
So I participated in study abroad internship in country of Georgia. The program I participated in was the Swiss Summer Mountaineering course. The experience was extremely professional. There were people from different militaries across the world. I was training with soldiers that were once our adversaries. It's fun to notice the importance of diplomatic relations and also civil affairs through the military.
The host school was always really going out of their way to help us get the full cultural experience because we were, in their eyes, only going to be there for 5 months.
They drove us out and we hiked to a glacier. That was unique, especially coming from Tennessee. There's no ice walls to climb. Their native language of Georgian was very difficult. However, at the end, I gave a little speech in Georgian, thanking their academy. It was an eye-opening experience. One thing I learned in Switzerland was to try and enjoy everything that you're doing, no matter how challenging it is.
Being able to see the country of your target language in person and really living day to day can move your passion to continue learning the language that much further.
All the conferences, all the internship, and all the exchange programs will help you as you develop, not just as a soldier, but also as a person. I think everybody in the Corps should study abroad because it will develop them so much.
If you have a free semester, it's the perfect time to explore a country. There's really not much holding you back in terms of whether or not you should go. It's a great experience.
I got extremely valuable training and just an overall incredible life experience that I wouldn't have gotten going to any other school. And it was the opportunity of a lifetime.
My wife's family is full of medical professionals, including lots of nurses. The more they talk to me about nursing, the more I realize there are so many different opportunities within the field of nursing. You can constantly continue growing, continue learning, which was something that really drew me to it. I was really attracted to the accelerated program at UNG for a couple of reasons. One, I heard that UNG, like everything I've heard about UNG's nursing program is incredible. I have a couple of friends who have been through it in recent years and just spoke very highly of it. Just everything I've seen online, spoken about it, it's just a very reputable program. So UNG was already a pretty clear choice for me. And then seeing the opportunity to do an accelerated program, it was kind of a no-brainer. Honestly, I get to graduate earlier, and one of the things that appealed to me the most actually was that most of our clinical rotations are at Northeast Georgia Medical Center. I am really thankful for the faculty that are specifically dedicated to the ABSN program here. This faculty, they really want to see us succeed in this program and be the best nurses we can possibly be.
From the moment you know where you are headed, it starts a journey that you will never forget. For those who seek a higher calling, to serve something bigger than themselves and take the path less traveled, UNG awaits to prepare you for your leadership pathway. Yes. Once you're here, you will be challenged and developed, physically, mentally, and emotionally. Freshman Recruit Orientation Group, or Frog Week, is the first step of the UNG journey. The commitment, the attitude, the effort, and the resilience take shape as you move forward on the pathway that most will never attempt.
Y'all got 2 minutes to change into OCPs. Time now. Let's go. Move it. Move it.
It is a process that teaches you about yourself and makes you better than you were yesterday. At times, it can be a struggle, but it's also an investment in yourself. Like life, it can create moments of doubt. You learn about yourself and your strengths and weaknesses. You share this journey with the men and women to your left and right, establishing lifelong bonds with the understanding that nothing worth having ever comes easy. But through adversity, you build strength, determination, and the desire to never quit. Frog Week will establish a foundation to build upon, strengthen you physically and mentally, and start shaping you into the leader you came here to be. For cadets at the University of North Georgia, they take the road less traveled, avoid taking the easy way out, and develop instrumental values that will prepare them for a life of service and leadership. Some people talk about it, others are about it.
We welcome you back here in Dahlonega, where the score right at the beginning of the second half tied 1-1. It's North Georgia trying to take their first lead. Tied 1-1. Kickoff just underway for the second half. And TJ, what were some first half positives that you saw from this North Georgia team?
I think we saw a lot of what we've seen all year. Even starting at the beginning of the year, going 0-2 first two games, and then building back to become the 3 seed in this conference, and also have a winning record. I think that they gave up the early goal, and then they bounced back, and they continue to do those things each and every time. And I think that kind of shows what the team is made of. If you want to make a run in a tournament like this, you have to be able to fight through the obstacles that you're going to face, because it's the postseason. Like I said, everybody's giving it 110%. So you just got to match that intensity and maybe go 120%. You have to match everybody's best. And so that means you need to be playing your best at this time of year. And I think they're at their best when, kind of people think they're down and out. So I did like that. And on the flip side, I thought that Georgia Southwestern came out aggressive. I think that, when you're a 6 seed, you're a low seed, anything like that, I think that you kind of almost have an advantage in a way, because, you're playing with house money.
North Georgia and their history against Georgia Southwestern all time is 18-3-3. Last time it went the other way was October 16th of 2021.
Yeah. A game that sticks out to me in this series was last year. I think that, that Georgia Southwestern team had a lot of traits that I think that this North Georgia team has, where North Georgia went up, I think it was 4-0, maybe 3-0, and, the Hurricanes battled all the way back, and it ended up being a 4-4 draw. So I think that, there are a lot of similarities between last year's Georgia Southwestern team and this year's North Georgia team.
Four minutes into this first half, tied at 1. And that last Georgia Southwestern win was on Saturday, October 16th, 2021. North Georgia fell 2-3 in a double overtime matchup. Jack Malloret had 2 goals for Georgia Southwestern, and then in the 104th minute, Chris Salamato got the game-winning goal for them. Both of those players mentioned, both actively playing in this one. We've called their names a couple of times already in this matchup.
Yeah, those guys have been, a staple for Coach Crawford's program for a while now. And as they head into the tail end of their careers, they have a lot of experience in games like this. And so I think the reason we've called their names so much is because, they're a very important part of the team, but also they have like a kind of a tenacity. They came out aggressive because they know what it takes to win a Peach Belt Conference tournament game.
As we mentioned, Jack Mallory getting that first goal in the 15th minute mark for Georgia Southwestern in this matchup. Scored in that last win Georgia Southwestern had against North Georgia. Michael Walsh, one of the Nighthawks, getting a goal in that one, also playing tonight for North Georgia. Ref's trying to tell Cano Aram Laura.
No, I think that was actually the referee asking if one of the Georgia Southwestern players had his shin guards in. He's wearing pretty low socks, so I think that was the concern there for the clock stoppage.
North Georgia setting up a counterattack. Try to get that one inside the box. That shot was by Max Garnett. Foul called against North Georgia. Garnett one-on-one there, but kicked out by Dago Romero. Now over back at the feet of Daviana. So kicked back over to midfield to Walsh. Walsh over to Marvin Rodas. Rodas over to Sinclair. This one over to Rodas. Now to Garnett. Dave Vienna getting that one back for North Georgia. Foul called against. Throwing for Georgia Southwestern. Now, North Georgia in a possible dangerous situation. That one going to get shot towards the goal, but Hazelay able to come up with the save for North Georgia. Now Max Garnett. Ball's going to roll out of bounds. Jackson Galloway. The Hurricane tripped up on that one. Rodas going to throw this one in. Over to Sinclair. Back to Rodas. Dave Vienna. Over to Walsh. Now, Georgia Southwestern on a counterattack. Andres Melendez. Headed away by Nighthawk. North Georgia kicking that one deep to the far side of the field. This is just over the head of Vitelli. Vitelli trying to get this one inside the box. Passes this one on the far side. Kick blocked by Dante Johnson. Free kick for North Georgia. Gets that one inside the box. Santiago Cano was there, but deflected by a couple Hurricane players. Now over Romero, the far side. Going to be a throw-in for North Georgia. Romero going to get tripped up right at the box line. Foul called.
Could be one of the biggest free kicks of the season for both of these sides.
Miguel Romero. Looks like or it could be Max Garnett on the kick. It's going to be Garnett on the kick. Or no, it's going to be Miguel Romero. That one's going to be sailed way over the crossbar.
I tried to fake you out right there.
Well, they fooled me.
Tried to fake the defense out, but they got you instead.
They fooled me. If I was trying to go after one of them, They certainly would have fooled me. Mattia Balzano stepping back in for North Georgia. That one sailed in by a Georgia Southwestern player. Going to be a corner kick. Going to be a corner kick for Georgia Southwestern. Kick sailed into the box area. Georgia trying to get it out of there. Foul called on Georgia Southwestern. River City Bank is a proud partner of North Georgia Athletics. Their personal banking products were designed with your unique needs in mind and proudly serve the Rome, Blairsville, and Dawsonville communities. Check out River City Bank in your area.
Feels like this game has slowed down a bit in the second half. I think the pace is still there, but I think there's been, a few more calls, a few more stoppages on the free kicks and the corners and stuff like that in this second half. So I'm interested to see, which team continues to feed off the energy.
Free kick by North Georgia. Going to be deflected off the hands of Dago Romero. It's going to be a corner kick for North Georgia. Free kick. That one over in the direction. And it's going to be a handball against North Georgia. This one will be kicked over to Rodas. Now over to Walsh on the far side. Now North Georgia trying to make something happen. Over to Garnett. Garnett going to try to send that one in for a crosser. That one nearly going to roll out of bounds. Now back inside the box, and that kick's going to be shot well over out of bounds. Chick-fil-A Dahlonega is the presenting sponsor of the Nighthawk of the Week Award and a proud partner of North Georgia Athletics. If you're looking for great food nearby, it's Chick-fil-A's pleasure to serve you. Foul called against Georgia Southwestern. Under 25 left to go in this second half, tied at 1. Looks like Max Garnett and Aram Laura over there for North Georgia for the free kick. North Georgia looking to take their first lead of the game. Laura kicking this one in, immediately headed by a Hurricane player. Laura trying to get that one over to the far side. That one going to try to get crossed in. Bounce back inside the box, but it's going to get kicked out by Georgia Southwestern.
Yeah, on that first free kick, it looked like he hit the right ball, but I don't know if – I think somebody might have been on a different page about what run to make and where he was going with it there.
Out of bounds, North Georgia throw in. Could have been a great opportunity there for North Georgia. Had a lot of open space. Going to be a Georgia Southwestern throw-in. Now over to Jonathan Bedard. Back to Braden Wood. Now to the far side. Michael Walsh and Chase there. Going to let this one nearly go out of bounds. It's going to be out of bounds on North Georgia, looks like, but a Hurricane player goes down. Player gets back up on their feet.
Interesting free kick spot right here.
That one going to get kicked out of bounds by North Georgia. Going to be a throw-in for Georgia Southwestern. Thrown in. That one kicked away. Now into the feet of Sam Burns. Bouncing around a couple of Nighthawks. Now landing in the feet of Jack Malloret. Now North Georgia trying to set up a counterattack. Tyler Vitelli charging downfield. Vitelli gets broken up. Now over to Mattia Balzano. Balzano over to Romero. Romero try to get that one in the box for a crosser, but gets broken up by a couple Hurricane players. Aram Laura there for North Georgia, and that one gets kicked out of the box. And now picked up by Vitelli on the far side, and immediately gets taken back by Georgia Southwestern. Out of bounds on North Georgia. Thrown in by Georgia Southwestern. North Georgia player going down. Foul against North Georgia.
Stepping on for Georgia Southwestern, number 28, Alex Kabzaru.
Bounce around a couple of Nighthawks. North Georgia able to come up on top of it. Rodas over to Romero. Now back into the feet of Georgia Southwestern. Now back into the feet of Mattia Balzano. Balzano over to Romero. Romero going to set this one inside the box, but it's going to be headed by a Georgia Southwestern player. Now Aram Laura back in possession for North Georgia. Now over to Romero. Romero dancing off a defender. Romero going to try and shoot this one in, but goes left of the post.
Yeah, Romero's beside himself after that. He made a great move, just kind of mishit the shots. But, you know, in this second half, he's kind of been in those positions a lot. So I don't think that's going to be the last time we see him over there with a chance to score. So I think he will learn from that situation and potentially put one in.
And there was a game a month ago where Romero had a bunch of shots on goal, but the final one he had finally went and sent in. Georgia Southwestern, that one going to land up in the hands of Hazel Lay. Lay kicking this one deep. It's be right just outside the circle. Now the feet of Aram Laura. Laura kicking that one to the far side to Vitelli. Balzano back with it for North Georgia. Whistle's called. Throw in for North Georgia. Thrown in near inside the box. Romero trying to get there. Could have had a really good opportunity. Under 15 to go. Vitelli. Over to Laura. Garnett. Now inside the box, and that one gonna try and get sent in, but it's too far away from the goal.
Yeah, I like the idea of keeping it on the ground. It feels like we've had a lot of shots just go over the crossbar, and we're hitting them too high. So I like the idea of going on the ground. Just put it maybe a little left of where he would have liked to put it.
Back in the hands of Hazel Lay. Now over to Garnett. Over to Daviana. Over to Romero. Gonna try to get that one in, but blocked away by Georgia Southwestern player. Throw in for North Georgia. That one sailing inside the box. Headed away by a Hurricane. Pass intercepted by Nighthawk. Over to Vitelli on the far side. Vitelli trying to fight for that ball back. Doesn't get it there, but it's going to be a foul against North Georgia. We reach under 12 minutes to go in this second half. We're tied at 1 apiece. Romero trying to make something happen for North Georgia. Push down the ground. Foul on Georgia Southwestern. Going to be a free kick for North Georgia. Aram Laura on the kick for North Georgia. Max Garnett inside the box. Laura kicking that one into the box where it's going to be caught by the goalkeeper. Dago Romero coming up with a couple of saves for the Hurricanes tonight. Currently tied at 1. 10:55 left to go. If this game at the end of regulation is still tied, it will not end in a tie. It will have to go into overtime. Whistle's called at midfield foul against Georgia Southwestern. Free kick for North Georgia. Aram Laura on the kick. Laura kicking that one in deep. Headed by Garnett, but going to be caught by Romero. In 2022, the NCAA made a rule change for all regular season matchups where overtime will not happen in regular season matchups and would end in a tie if tied at the end of regulation. Although for all conference tournament and NCAA tournament, overtime is still in. And in overtime, the game is you will have 2 10-minute periods if the game is tied at the end of the first 10-minute period. And if it's still tied after the second 10-minute period, you will go into penalty kicks. Max Garnett setting up a counter attack for North Georgia. Garnett trying to get deep into territory, but broken up by Georgia Southwestern. These two teams have met in overtime twice in program history. Both in Americus, Georgia, at Georgia Southwestern.
Yeah, and we were talking about Michael Walsh earlier. I distinctly remember the 2021 game. I believe there was maybe 2 or 3 seconds left on the clock, and Michael Walsh shot one from just about midfield and made it and sent the game to overtime, where Salamatu would end it in the 104th minute. But yeah, these two teams seem to go to overtime a lot. North Georgia's come out on top a few times, and Georgia Southwestern the same. But that one distinctly was, I believe, the last time these two teams met in overtime. And, 2 names, really 3 names, because Jack Mallard scored twice in that game, and Salamatu scored at the end, and Michael Walsh scored in the last seconds of the game. So a lot of those same faces are still around.
It's going to be a free kick for Georgia Southwestern. Player falling down inside the box, going to be caught by Hazel Lay. Hazel Lay frustrated. Kicking this one over to Walsh. Now out of bounds on the near side. Six minutes left to go in this one. Not the first time these two teams have been tied at 1 this season. Alejandro de Viena over to Romero. And Max Garnett got to get pushed to the ground. Foul against Georgia Southwestern.
Yeah, it feels like this happens to Garnett a lot. You know, he's everywhere on the field, and it just feels like he's always getting hit to the ground.
Laura going to send this one in, but it's going to be caught by Romero. Well, there are 5 minutes left to go. Back kick up in the air by Tyler Vitelli. Now over to Daviana. Daviana to Garnett. Garnett over to Romero. Romero back over to Daviana. Daviana to Laura. Vitelli. Going to kick that one deep into the box, but it's going to be headed by a Georgia Southwestern player. Aram Laura. Getting that one over to Vitelli on the far side. Miguel Romero trying to kick that one in, but it's just going to go over the crossbar.
He's getting closer and closer. Romero's lined up. He could be the hero here tonight. He's getting closer and closer.
North Georgia player down on the turf, Alejandro Daviana. Daviana gets back up. Now over to Walsh on the far side. North Georgia trying to make something happen with within the last 3 minutes of regulation. Aram Laura. Now over to Garnett. Garnett going to try to get that one in, and it's just going to go off the hands. Aram Laura there inside the box. Trying to get that one in for North Georgia. Going to bounce off. Romero. Going to be a North Georgia throw-in. North Georgia getting real close to getting this one in. Kicked inside the box over to Garnett. Now Balzano to Daviana. Daviana to Balzano. Now that one's headed into the box. Bounces out on Georgia Southwestern. Throw in for North Georgia. And now Georgia Southwestern on a counterattack. That one's going to get kicked out of bounds just off the feet of Marvin Rodas. Throw in for Georgia Southwestern. 1:44 left in this one. And could have had a ton of open space as Dago Romero came just out of the goalie area. But that one goes behind the net. And North Georgia unable to capitalize. Fans here at UNG Soccer Stadium at Lake Cottrell Park getting rowdy. Romero kicking this one deep. A minute left to go in this contest. If tied, we'll head into overtime. Foul on Georgia Southwestern. Yellow card going to be issued to the North Georgia sideline. Laura going to kick this one deep for North Georgia. Miguel Romero there. but it's going to be handed in the hands of Dago Romero. Under 30 seconds left to go. North Georgia trying to make something happen with 12 seconds left to go. Aram, Laura, 9 seconds. Laura trying to make something happen. Going to be taken away by Georgia Southwestern. And this ball is headed towards the press box. And we will head into overtime here at the UNG soccer field at Linden Cottrell Park. Are they going to warm up at all? Are they warming up at all? Okay, they're going to get 5 minutes. All right. North Georgia, Georgia Southwestern going to head into overtime. We're going to take you to commercial break, and we'll preview this overtime matchup between these two teams in the Peach Belt Conference tournament opener.
Considering a career change? Ready to lead in healthcare? Be a nurse in 15 months with our accelerated Bachelor's of Nursing track. Learn more at ung.edu/ABSN.
I'm here.
You've got a lot of reasons to be here.
I'm here.
That's why we're here at Georgia Heart Institute, where advanced heart attack treatment protocols are saving more hearts than anywhere else in the state. That's why we're here.
I'm here.
So you'll always be there. The future of heart care, we're leading Georgia there. Georgia Heart Institute.
Northeast Georgia Health System is a proud supporter of North Georgia Nighthawk Athletics.
Welcome you back here on the Nighthawk Sports Network. North Georgia, Georgia Southwestern tied at 1 apiece. Tied at 1 apiece going into overtime. Now let's explain the overtime rules since the NCAA made a rule change at the beginning of last season where regular season games do not go into overtime anymore. So the rule format for this is there's going to be 2 10-minute periods. Those 2 10-minute periods must be played, regardless if a goal is scored or not within the first 10 minutes. And there are no golden goals. So we had to play the next 20 minutes outright.
And Devin, what a game this has been. You know, the fans here at the UNG soccer complex at Lincoln Control Park, they've been in for quite a treat tonight. It's been, you know, a bit of a back-and-forth game, even though the score stands at 1-1. This has been such a great game to watch.
It has been, and I forgot to introduce him, Robert DiClemente. You heard him earlier today on the Nighthawk Sports Network calling that 3-0 win over Georgia Southwestern in the women's soccer side of things in the Peach Belt Conference tournament. And yes, has been a very exciting one indeed. Great to have you on the broadcast for some overtime soccer, which you don't really get to see too often anymore since it's no longer a part of the regular season.
Yeah, that was a great game by the women's soccer team earlier. Hopefully men's soccer can follow up and take down Georgia Southwestern themselves.
So we've got 8:43 left to go. Fields stay the same as they were in the second half. So North Georgia trying to shoot on the left side. Hazel Lay almost let that one go, but Lay going to kick this one back from our own end.
And Lay has had his work cut out for him this evening, but he's absolutely been up to the task here for North Georgia, only allowing 1 goal so far go past him, and hopefully for the Nighthawks it stays that way.
Now 8 minutes to go. Now these two teams, especially in recent time, familiar with an overtime finish. These two teams have met twice in overtime in the past 2.5 years. Now on the unfortunate side, Georgia Southwestern has come victorious in those games. But with those two games both being in Americus, Georgia, at Georgia Southwestern.
And there's lots on the line in tonight's game. Georgia Southwestern trying to avenge their loss to North Georgia earlier this season. North Georgia's home undefeated streak is on the line tonight. They went undefeated during the regular season at home. And as you guys mentioned earlier, you know, whoever loses this game, you know, their season could potentially be over depending on what the NCAA tournament looks like. So a huge game tonight for both of these squads.
Yes, North Georgia not only undefeated at home this season, but also undefeated at home against Georgia Southwestern. Have never lost to them at home. 11-0-1. Alejandro De Viena going to try and get that one over on the near side of the field to Max Garnett. Max Garnett trying his best spin moves inside the box. Now over to Mattia Balzano. To De Viena. Now over to Romero. Romero going to try to shoot that one in, but is going to be behind the net on this one. Romero, we've called his name a lot, and there was a game recently, can't remember it off the top of my head, but where Romero had a bunch of shots on goal, but had a clutch goal at the end of the game.
Yeah, and he's come off the bench for North Georgia in this one, but his impact has been massive here in this game.
Tyler Vitelli on the far side. It's the Nighthawk trying to get the ball.
And Romero's been one of the few substitutions for North Georgia in this one against Georgia Southwestern. As we mentioned, his impact has been very strong.
Under 7 left to go in this first overtime period. We will play another 10-minute period after this one, regardless of the score. That one bounced dangerously into the box. North Georgia, not a Nighthawk over there where the ball was beautifully placed. Going to be a throw-in for North Georgia. trying to get their first goal since the first half. Whistle's called inside the box. Not quite sure who the foul was called on.
That was very close to being a PK opportunity for North Georgia as they try to work quickly here.
I believe it's going to be a free kick opportunity for them.
It's kind of a weird angle, but it's, as close to the box as you could possibly get on a free kick.
North Georgia looking to take their first lead of the game. 6 minutes into overtime. Look like it's going to be Aram Laura on the kick. That one's going to get kicked out of the box, where eventually it's going to meet the feet of Dave Vienna. That one gets sailed back into the box. A couple North Georgia Nighthawks players in, and it's in the back of the net. Michael Walsh coming in clutch for North Georgia to put him up 2-1 over Georgia Southwestern.
And this crowd is rocking and rolling here at Lynn Control Park. What a shot.
And remember, this is not the first time Michael Walsh has come up clutch for North Georgia. In the last overtime game against Georgia Southwestern, with literally seconds to go in that game, Michael Walsh came up clutch for North Georgia, sending them to overtime against Georgia Southwestern, as now North Georgia takes their first lead, 2-1 over Georgia Southwestern in this game tonight.
The new score here at the UNG Western 1.
Incredible late game heroics. Still got 16 minutes left to play in overtime. North Georgia, whoever wins this game is going to advance to the Peach Belt Conference Tournament and hit the road to play Lander University.
Nighthawks on the attack again.
Foul going to be called against Georgia Southwestern, and a yellow card's going to get issued. So Nighthawk is still down on the turf.
I believe that's Aram Lara down. Trainers aren't going to come out, but this is going to give North Georgia another free kick here in dangerous territory with the clock stopped. Big opportunity here for the Nighthawks. Hopefully, I believe that is Lara down. Hopefully he's all right.
With Walsh scoring that goal for North Georgia, put them up 2-1 over Georgia Southwestern. That is the 19th game now out of 25 games that North Georgia has scored multiple goals against Georgia Southwestern.
And if the Nighthawks are able to capitalize here, this crowd's going to go crazy.
Mattia Balzano over in the area of the ball alongside Max Garnett. Looks like it's going to be Garnett going to try and kick this one for North Georgia, and a free kick opportunity. 3:42 left to go in period number 1 of overtime. Kick going to sail left of the goal. Clock's going to stop. See what the refs say. Looks like there might be a redo on the kick. And there is. Not sure what the call was, but North Georgia getting another opportunity. Garnett going to kick this one in. This one's going to go way over the top of the goal.
Yeah, just a little too strong on that one. Adrenaline is probably at an all-time high now for Max Garnett. So this game's going to stay at 2-1, but a good opportunity for North Georgia.
Headed by North Georgia. Fans getting rowdy here in North Georgia.
Looks like the Nighthawks make a substitution. Elwin Asiedu's now on the field for North Georgia.
Now over into the feet of Rodas. Now, Elwin Asiedu, the first time we've seen him on the pitch tonight.
Asiedu's a fan favorite here at Lynn Cottrell.
Asiedu, really good player in the backfield. Seen him come up in a lot of good moments for North Georgia this season. And now we got a takeaway for North Georgia. Max Garnett. Garnett. That one's going to bounce off of Tyler Vitelli and going to be a throw-in for Georgia Southwestern.
And everybody on that North Georgia bench is up on their feet.
Thrown for the Nighthawks in the area of Vitelli.
1 minute remaining.
Under a minute left to go in this first overtime period. Two players sliding and contacting. 18 seconds. Clock stops at 17.9. Looks like a clock rolling again. Free kick
10,
opportunity for that one deflected out of the back of the net.
5, 4, 3,
Kicked high up in the air.
1, 0.
And North Georgia taking their first lead of the game, up 2-1 over Georgia Southwestern. And Robert, it's been quite an exciting game, especially that second half. North Georgia taking up their first lead, done all thanks to Michael Walsh. What are your overall takes on this game that we've seen so far?
Well, Michael Walsh, he's seen a lot of success against Georgia Southwestern this season, and he does it yet again. The veteran comes up big and, you know, maybe the biggest shot of his career as a Nighthawk as he puts them up 2-1 over Georgia Southwestern. As we mentioned, a lot on the line this evening for both squads. You know, potentially this could be the final game for North Georgia or the final game for Georgia Southwestern, depending on how the NCAA tournament shapes out to be. And so this has been a very exciting game this evening at Lynn Cottrell Park. That overtime period, no different. We'll see if the Nighthawks can hold on to that lead for the final 10 minutes and avoid going to PKs.
Yeah, and hopefully it doesn't go into PKs for any of these teams. North Georgia not coming up on the winning side on these overtimes. It looks like North Georgia's in good position with 10 minutes left to go in this matchup.
Now this golden goal rule can come into favor for Georgia Southwestern. Also the guaranteed 2 10-minute overtime periods, you know, that change to the NCAA rulebook can potentially be huge for the Hurricanes here in this game. Otherwise, you know, we would have been going home with the Nighthawks win already. Instead, we got 10 minutes left still to play.
That 2-minute break period coming to an end. We're waiting North Georgia to come back out onto the field. They're huddled on their own sideline.
And this game has been all about winning those, little battles here and there. We've seen players like Garnett or Daviena get out of a jam or take the ball away, from an attacker. And it's those little matchups that North Georgia wins, could ultimately lead to them winning this game overall.
Tyler Fratelli going to kick this one, the second overtime period off. Fratelli going to kick this one over to Daviena. And this is an instance where the fields do flip from the first overtime period, where the first overtime period stayed the same as the second half. North Georgia now going to be attacking the right side of the field, while Georgia Southwestern is going to be attacking the left side of the field.
Nice job by Balzano to keep that in play.
This one inside the box. Broken up by Georgia Southwestern. Blair. Whistle's called.
And in these overtime periods, it's been all North Georgia so far. They were aggressive in that first overtime period, and here in the first minute of the second overtime, they're not letting their foot off the gas. They want to potentially add another insurance goal onto their lead.
Headed by Osiedu. Georgia Southwestern trying to make something happen. This was called foul against North Georgia. Free kick for Georgia Southwestern. Headed away by Michael Walsh. Throwing for Georgia Southwestern. Whistle's called.
Trying to get the Hurricanes set up in the correct spot for their free kick.
Free kick on the way. Immediately met by Max Garnett. Garnett going to kick this one right back over to the Hurricane player that had kicked that one in. Now being contested around midfield. This one getting inside the box. Hazelay almost losing control of the ball. Lay now going to fall on this one. Kick deep by Lay.
Georgia Southwestern has been a bit more aggressive here in these last couple minutes as they try to find the equalizer.
Kicked over the middle. Now North Georgia trying to cook something up to extend their lead over Georgia Southwestern. Ball being bounced around midfield. 5.5 minutes left to go in this one.
Hurricanes have a bit of room to operate here on the attack.
Hurricanes getting inside the box. North Georgia finally breaking that one up.
Nice recovery there from Asiedu. Prevents Georgia Southwestern from getting a goal for the time being. Ends up in a corner for them.
Corner set in, but bounced off by a Nighthawk player. Going to be a throw-in for Georgia Southwestern.
Another free kick for Georgia Southwestern. In a bit of dangerous territory. Probably closer to the box than North Georgia would have liked.
North Georgia currently up 2-1. If tied at the end of this overtime period, we will go to penalty kicks. That one set into the box. That one headed away by Asiedu. And then immediately landing up back of the feet. The Georgia Southwestern and Hazel Lay making an incredible save inside the box. With 4 minutes left to go in this one.
Lay has stood strong in goal for the Nighthawks here in this game. He has all season long, and in the biggest game of the season so far, he's proven why he's one of the best goalkeepers in the Peach Belt Conference.
Now over to Garnett on the far side. Garnett going to get tripped up right on the box lines.
Garnett tried to make his way past 2 or 3 Hurricane defenders there. Went to the turf, but no call.
We're going to sail way out of bounds. Clock's going to stop at 3:02. Kicked outside the box.
Nice job by North Georgia to clear that one, and they've got a bit of a breakaway here.
North Georgia trying to make a counter, big time counterattack. Mattia Balzano getting that one over to Vitelli. Vitelli trying to work out a jam. That one's kicked out of bounds. .2:15 left. Now one headed out of bounds. Going to be a Georgia Southwestern throw-in. North Georgia up 2-1 over Georgia Southwestern. Winner of this one heads to Lander University on Friday night to take on the Bearcats on the road.
Hurricanes trying to make a push here.
Yeah, it's going to be a big takeaway from North Georgia. Throw in for Georgia Southwestern. 1:35 left to go.
A great play by Elwin Asiedu there.
Elwin Asiedu kicking this one outside the box. Now we're going to be a takeaway for North Georgia. Sail out of bounds and on top of the press box. Hopefully, he didn't hit one of our camera people up there. 42 seconds remaining in this one. Big takeaway by Tyler Vitelli going downfield for North Georgia. Vitelli in open space. Vitelli going to try and set that one in for a crosser, but Vitelli's pass gets deflected. So we reach under 30 seconds left to go. 2-1 North Georgia leads. This will be North Georgia's first win in overtime against Georgia Southwestern.
Crowd's on their feet.
Crowd on their feet. 15 seconds left to go.
10, 9, 8, 7, 6.
Kick deep by Georgia Southwestern.
4, 3, 2, 1, 0.
North Georgia wins this one 2-1 over Georgia Southwestern, picking up their first overtime victory over GSW in program history. And this one comes at a significant point as North Georgia advances to the semifinals and will travel on the road to take on Lander University on Friday night for a semifinal matchup in the Peach Belt Conference Tournament. Both North Georgia teams coming up with the victorious dub today. Women's soccer won 3-0 over Georgia Southwestern earlier today. And then North Georgia, the men's team, won 2-1 over Georgia Southwestern in an overtime thriller tonight.
University of North Georgia Nighthawk soccer.
As we bring in Robert DiClemente again. Robert, what's your takeaway for this game?
Wow, this may have been the most exciting game that I have seen all season long. North Georgia has been a phenomenal second half team all year long. This year, no different. May have taken them a couple overtime periods to get the job done, but man, what an impressive outing by North Georgia. And their home undefeated streak stays alive, and their season stays alive as they head to the Final Four in the Peach Belt Conference and the semifinals. What a performance by North Georgia. And if anyone's going to come away with the MVP of this game, it's got to be Michael Walsh, hitting the dagger in overtime to give North Georgia the 2-1 lead.
Yeah, Michael Walsh coming in clutch for North Georgia tonight. And as you said, North Georgia improves to 7-0-1 at home and also keeps their undefeated streak against Georgia Southwestern at home intact as well. North Georgia winning this one 2-1 over Georgia Southwestern in an overtime thriller. North Georgia going on the road to take on the Bearcats of Lander University. For signing off for the Nighthawk Sports Network tonight, Devin Kupka and Robert DiClemente. Thank you all for tuning in tonight. Once again, your final score, North Georgia wins in overtime 2-1 over Georgia Southwestern as they advance in the Peach Belt Conference Tournament. Have a great night, everybody.